Hey guys, it's a big deal, and we're in Durango, Colorado, where the Rio Grande Southern doesn't come by much this way anymore.
Colorado's San Juans. Mountains nearly impenetrable to the steel rail. Attempted to be crossed by Otto Mears and his Silverton Railroad in 1888 to bridge the gap between the Rio Grande's Ouray and Silverton branches via Red Mountain Pass. The line would fall short, only 8 miles and a few thousand vertical feet, stymied by the gorge of the Uncompahgre River. Instead, in 1899, the pathfinder of the San Juans would begin to take the long way around, looping through Dolores, Rico, Ophir, and Telluride on the range's western flank. The Rio Grande Southern would end up tacking down 162 miles of 3-foot wide track to close this 8-mile gap. The Southern would have its final spike driven on the 12th of December, 1891, ushering in an era of profit and high pay for its employees. An era that would last and last for a year and a half. Besieged by the Silver Panic of 1893, the RGS began to decline, with the railroad attempting to persevere and aided by its famed flock of galloping geese. The Southern hung on until the abandonment with the Interstate Commerce Commission was granted on the 24th of April, 1952. All of the remains of the line were dispersed to the winds of time. Geese 4 and 5 would remain in the San Juans, legends in the snow. Rails would be pulled up along the entire route, with the only ones that RGS trains ever rolled over to remain in the Durango yard of the Denver and Rio Grande Western where it interchanged. Even the remaining locomotives all left the region, save for the one left in Durango's Santa Rita Park, the Emma Sweeney. Of course, upon inspection, this gaudy painted locomotive is but a forgery, formed of fiberglass and plywood, a simple movie prop, and not of the RGS. But yet, she's a near-faithful recreation of the real Emma, none other than Rio Grande Southern, number 20. Built by the Schenectady Locomotive Works of the same city in New York, a forerunner of the American Locomotive Company, aka ALCO. She came first to the famed Florence and Cripple Creek, the sinuous line between the two towns where she worked until the line's demise via the act of flash flooding in 1912. 4 years later, she arrived on the Rio Grande Southern with sisters 22 and 25 after overhaul in the Rio Grande's Alamosa shops. From then until abandonment, the 20 would toil with the other rejects and cast-offs that the Southern procured. As since the Panic of 1893, the line never bought a new locomotive. As time progressed, she would begin to be one of the few not weeded out, becoming a celebrity in her own right, even before her Hollywood turn in 1949, when she became the real Emma Sweeney, starring in the movie Ticket to Tomahawk. In that movie, the 20 was the star, and while the real 20 never shared scenes with her, she was featured on the same reel of film with a young Marilyn Monroe. Of course, by November of 1951, her fire was dropped and she headed for the stark San Luis Valley, where she resided at the Narrow Gauge Motel after being acquired by the Rocky Mountain Railroad Club. When the Narrow Gauge Motel's equipment was moved away to Golden, the 20 followed as well, perched on display for over 4 decades, sharing a prime spot in later years with Colorado's most famous diesel, 5771. In 2006, she was formally conveyed from the Rocky Club to the Colorado Railroad Museum, and efforts were kick-started from an anonymous benefactor. She traveled east of Colorado for the first time since 1899 and went to Strasburg, Pennsylvania, where she began her rebirth. In 2019, she was once again under steam at Strasburg and tested before being shipped back to Golden. In August of 2020, she would make her public debut under steam for the first time in 69 years. The next year, in 2021, she'd venture out, rolling via semi-truck through her old home of Cripple Creek before heading to the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad. One, though, may have wondered what she thought on her travels through the Conejos Range, if like a Norwegian blue pining for the fjords, she yearned to roll even further west to her home in the San Juans. In 2025, she was once again loaded onto the back of a semi and trucked over the Great Divide and found herself on the west slope for the first time since 1953. Thanks to the lane restrictions in Pagosa Springs, a new route would have to be forged. And so, for the first time since the line's abandonment, a steam locomotive wrapped itself around the loop underneath the Ophir Needles, skirted Trout Lake, and surmounted Lizard Head Pass. Through Rico, Dolores, and Mancos, she rolled over Hesperus Hill, skipping the original RGS grade through the narrow confines of Wildcat Canyon, finally reaching the house in Durango after a near 75-year absence. With the rails of the busy Polar Express season, the 20 took refuge in the stall of the roundhouse until January, when she once again took to the rails of the San Juans. Join us as we venture out onto the narrow rails of the Durango and Silverton behind this legendary locomotive. One of, if not the single most famous steam locomotive to ever roll through the Centennial State. Along the way, we'll talk with those involved with the 20, the railroad, and more. We'll spend the next 5 days with the 20 along the rails of the Silverton branch on 2 different photographer specials. The first being led and organized by Pete Lerro of Lerro Productions, and the second put on by the Durango and Silverton itself. We begin on the 17th of February, where a light dusting of snow has fallen overnight, bringing a welcome but brief respite from the worst snowpack on record for the Rocky Mountain West, ever. Yet another tally mark in the worst drought since, and on par with the one that drove the ancestral Puebloans out of the region 8 centuries earlier. We're just north of the Highway 550 bridge at milepost 467, where the line winds its way onto the Mini High Line, just below Shalona Lake. Having crept out onto the Mini High Line, the 20 pounds its way over the ancient path of Highway 550, now County Road 250, climbed past the terminus of the ill-fated Millionaire Special of 1917, and is rolling out onto Granite Point, where the train clings to the narrow shelf chiseled into the cliffs above Elbert Creek and Shalona Lake.
It is I.
Who are you?
Who am I? Well, Joe Wagman. I've been watching Big Deal for many years. I work on the DNS. I just became a fireman a little while ago, but I'm also a brakeman. Been in Durango my whole life, so.
What'd you think? Did you ever think that this would happen, where you'd be right behind a Rio Grande Southern 20?
I definitely had my doubts, but I'm very glad that they were not true. I'd heard rumblings that they were trying to make this happen, and I'm glad it finally worked out. It's been very cool to see the 20 back, not quite its home roots, but I mean, it's been here before for, of course, the filming of the Ticket to Tomahawk, and it's been a very magical experience to see it. And it's also, I'm sure, been very good optics for both the DNS and Colorado Railroad Museum. So, very happy to see that all come to fruition.
We've steamed past the lower reaches of the High Line, and instead headed to Gladels Gap, a cut just past the overland curve and its long ago filled in low trestle. Coming out of the cut, the 20 steams from the schism onto the now reinforced retaining walls. Hopping back aboard our Tuscan red cars, we do not head further into the canyon, but instead back towards the Horseshoe Curve. We skipped ahead on this charter to Gladels Gap to take advantage of the great morning light there, and we've now made it to what is now taking the name of Bicycle Point. Once the resting place of a bike abandoned by a crew member decades ago, having been thrown off the train here in a fit of protest, left to rust over the years. Tank Creek is another side canyon that flows into the Animas, and derives its name from the cistern that sits at its confluence with the Animas. Here, we find the 20 steaming northward through the reverse curves, threading the gap created by the emerald green waters of the Animas. The azure skies of our visit to the Highline have now once again been replaced with a quick-moving snow squall, pouring over the rim of the canyon from above. Above Tank Creek and Tall Timber, we arrive at Cement Wall, where the snowstorm is pushing its way up the canyon and right into our lenses.
My name is Brett Wiebold. I'm a volunteer with the Colorado Railroad Museum. I've been with them a little over a decade now. I was involved in some of the stages of when 20 was first being brought home to the museum from Pennsylvania. Went out and was part of a crew that did some work out there. and then was involved with the restoration as it continued once the locomotive came back to Golden. Have been involved with its operation ever since. I got the chance to travel with it down to Cumbres and Toltec a number of years ago for the Victorian Iron Horse Roundup, and I'm now very excited to be here in Durango, helping out with the 20 excursions here.
What do you think of it coming home?
It's really cool to see. You know, how often do you get to see something like that where a locomotive comes back to where it was based out of for so many years? You know, the running joke has been, well, they have us in this roundhouse stall over here when actually it's supposed to be over on that side of the building. But this is it. This is home for this locomotive. First time in 75 years, I think, that it's been based out of Durango regularly. So it's really exciting to see.
Yeah. You got any like before the restoration? I mean, did you ever think about the 20 ever coming back? Did you just pie in the sky dream or anything? Or?
It was, I don't want to say it was a running joke, but it was, the restoration was so long. It was in Pennsylvania for 13 years, which is long enough that by the time it came back, most of the folks that worked in the shop and certainly in operations had never seen the engine in person, at least not in a working capacity. It was kind of an unknown quantity to all of us until the tender came back in, I believe, 2015, and then the locomotive, or might have been a little later than that, and then the locomotive in 2019.
Okay.
So it was very exciting to see it come home, but honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of thought about it, at least not on the mechanical side, until it did.
Having turned on the Y at Cascade, the 20 is now north of Tefft and is rolling down grade through the location nicknamed Happy German Curve. Today, with abnormally light snow on the ground, we're right on the edge of the river. Closer to Tefft, we're on the roadbed of the old toll road that was the primary transportation route here until the completion of the railroad in the winter of 1882. Before the coming of the railroad, the toll road was built moving with the terrain and climbed over this outcropping. The railroad would later bypass the twisting route by squeezing between the cliff face and the river. This location, along with Happy German Point, places the RGS-20 in some of the most southern-like territory along the Durango and Silverton. One could easily believe that we're steaming southbound from Rico along the cascading waters of the Dolores River. Downstream, we're at the Truss Bridge at Tefft. We're at river level along the Animas as the 20 steams southward out of the San Juans. While this part of the canyon does seem like waterways over the ridges to our west that the Rio Grande Southern steamed through, the Truss Bridge is out of character, as the RGS's only steel bridge was the Truss Bridge across the Animas leaving Durango. the sun once again returning to us, we're once again at Gladels Gap, where we find the 20 traipsing through the cuts and fills of the High Line as the Animas River makes its way in the canyon far below us towards the sea at the Gulf of California.
I'm Will Gant. I'm the assistant roundhouse foreman at the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad.
And how long have you been here?
Been here for almost 4 years, 3 and 7 months.
All right. Well, what do you think about the RGS 20 returning home for the first time in 70 years?
It's very cool that the 20 gets to come stomp on its home turf again, and that it gets to return to the roundhouse where it worked out of for a very long time.
All right. Do you have any special memories of the 20?
I remember in 2007 was actually the first time I remember seeing it. Oh, there it goes. Seeing it getting loaded onto a truck in Golden.
All right.
We steam another mile down the tracks and find ourselves at the world-famous Horseshoe Curve portion of the High Line as the clouds once again roll in. Hey guys, it's a big deal, and I'd like to thank you for watching the first part of this series on the Rio Grande Southern 20 Goes Home to Durango. If you haven't already, make sure you click like and subscribe so you'll be notified when the next part of this video series drops.
Mark I'm part-time staff.
You want to do what? What you want to do?
Hey, welcome to the B-roll. Roll.
The after photo of Nick Breeden here? Yeah. Oh, wait, well, that's not. Oh, okay.
Trains! I'd quite like to see that again, in slow motion. 20.
It's a good view. Oh, there's Christian.
Hello viewers, it's me again. I've missed you. I hope you've missed me. Anyway, just remember, like and subscribe. It's a big deal photography. Your volunteer efforts are making this channel what it is.